Hello, it's Gregor from A19 Consulting. Today's topic is Ivanti Service Manager Implementation Milestones. So, over the last 2+ decades implementing Heat, IT Service Management, and Ivanti Service Manager and Asset Manager now as well, the following implementation milestones, also known as rollout milestones or roadmap, have been deeply ingrained and proven to be the ultimate success factor in project structure. In fact, it's the best practice that I implement with my clients. And from, a scope of work to go live to roll out, there are so many steps that need to be carefully planned, communicated, and enforced. And where implementations fail is that any of these steps are skipped, or they're not even present, or they're poorly done. And this is why it's so important that the steps are front line and center when you're planning your implementation and when you're dealing with work breakdown structure. So it all starts typically with a scope of work, either a sales individual or an Ivanti professional services consultancy or a freelance consultant has developed with you. And then from there, you want to gather requirements. The scope of work kind of lays out the foundation of what is it that we're going to be focusing on, what is the big picture, what is it high level, what are we including, what are we not including, what are some constraints, what's out of scope, what are some assumptions, and what are some takeaways. Maybe there's some items in the scope of work that need more discussion as well. Now, requirements gathering is business requirements gathering. So, you're not looking at features and functionality, although they do play an important role, but you really want to look at the business requirements. What do we want to accomplish? What are the day-to-day job functions and standard operating procedures that we're satisfying? And then we do want to leverage technology, and we're definitely going to demo technology, but it's all about business requirements that get translated into technical requirements and technical solutions, such as a proof of concept. So a proof of concept and a prototype is something that's a best practice and something that is really important, because a lot of implementations skip those and they go straight from scope of work to implementing and testing and then going live, and there's a lot of gaps there. And the proof of concept, this is kind of an agile approach. The waterfall approach of just scope of work, configure, test, go live is really an outdated one that doesn't work too well with Ivanti Service Manager and a lot of enterprise software applications, because you really need a proof of concept and an agile approach to put it all together and say, okay, these are our requirements. How are we going to solve those, right, on a high level? And then you start building a more functional prototype to keep on validating those requirements, looking for gaps, making sure you're on the right track, and seeing if there's any need for requirement changes, scope of work changes, right? And you want to lay all that out on the table before, because the last thing you want is you go live and then the higher ups, the executives say, hey, this is not what we wanted, or the managers say this is not what we wanted, and the end users say, well, I thought that's what we wanted, right? Or, oh no, it's not what we wanted. So that's what you want to avoid. So this is why these steps are really important. Proof of concept, functional prototype, and then you want to sign those off with the project owner and decision maker. Because if it's not signed off, if it's not written, it's not real, right? And then we go into system testing. So you configure the rest of the system as a consultant. You do your system testing as a consultant. There's a code freeze. And then we talk about UAT, and UAT is the number one reason why most implementations fail. And before we do UAT, we need to do prep. Most companies don't even do proper UAT, and then the ones that think they are doing proper UAT don't have any prep for it. They don't have the proper data imported. They don't have the UAT test cases, and they don't have that imported either. And they don't have a tool that's going to manage all that for them, because for UAT you're validating the system's business requirements, right? You're not validating technical requirements, you're validating business requirements, the scope of work, the requirements. Can the end user do their day-to-day job functions? And testing isn't as easy as just saying go ahead and test. You need scripts. You need to be able to say, well, when you're sitting in front of the system, here's the steps you need to take, and here's what we're expecting will happen. The worst thing you can do is go into UAT without test cases, because the end user will just stare at a blank screen, get overwhelmed, there's going to be a learning curve, and they're going to start testing all sorts of bells and features and focus on all the things that aren't really business requirements. And that's not what we want. The second issue with UAT typically, and where things fail, is you don't have a test script tool to manage it all. Excel is a horrible tool to manage UAT. It's not collaborative, it's not real time, it's outdated. It doesn't give you proper features and functionality to allow you to pass and fail tests and communicate with the consultant and the team and the manager and flag things for review in your implementation, or for management review, knowledge review, internal review. There are some pieces that are going to need some collaboration and some discussion. So I've developed a UAT test script tool. I've got a separate video on that, and I can tell you, without it and without proper UAT and without my tool, projects can easily derail, budgets double and triple, and you're left spending a lot of time on status calls with issues rather than with success stories and high fives because you got it right and the requirements are there and everybody is happy, right? And how do you know you're happy if you don't really have any criteria for it? So, and then there comes remediation, right? You're going to find some things in the validation of the business requirements that aren't working right. You're going to find some things in the business requirements that aren't right. So it's, marrying the business requirements and the technical solution together, making sure it works. You remedy that, and then you need to sign off on UAT. That's an important step. Without proper sign off, again, if it's not written, it's not real, how can we go live if the project owner, decision maker haven't approved the final system, right? And then for go live or rollout or upgrade, there's the prep work that's involved. And then you go live, and then after go live, you don't want to be the guy that just leaves town, get out of Dodge and leave. You want to be there supporting the implementation, and you want to make sure that post go live there aren't any issues and you remedy those, right? So there's a little bit of remediation there. So there's going to be some things again where the rubber hits the road and that aren't quite working in live as they should have been working, as they, we thought they should be working. This is where real life situations and really dictate what we need to fix, right? And you need to determine if it's something that we remedy right now post go live, or in version 1.1 within the next few days, or is it a version 2 because there's a bigger picture, a bigger item that needs to be talked about or changed, or maybe it's just we've got everything checked off, go live was great and everything's picture perfect, we just need to talk about version 2. What's the next changes and enhancements that we want to make? Because you're also phasing things in, right? That's a video that I'm going to be shooting very soon, is talking about phasing in your implementation, because you may have a scope of work with multiple components and then you roll out individual components and you use the same approach that you're using here. So that's it for me. Be sure to check out my video on UAT, my UAT test script module, check out my blog. And thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.